Hello, my beautiful creatures. Welcome back to another time of storytelling and awesomeness. As you can see, I'm joined today by someone very special, my very own niece. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, people. My name is Ineka Ravenstone. That is my aunt. And for some reason, my father decided she's trustworthy even after so many visits with the council.
And that being aside, I do believe that your father thinks that I am quite capable of teaching you the elven ways. After all, that's how you get your ears.
That makes me laugh. Just simply thinking about it. You turned the prince into a frog when it was forbidden to use your magic at the time. Because turning your parents into small little beings in a jar.
Alrighty then, on with our stories. You don't need to tell everything you know, Ithaca. Now, where was I? Was I going to tell you a story today?
I don't know why you tell these people our stories. They're obviously not trustworthy.
I tell them our stories so they can maybe understand us a little better and we could get along. You don't have to always distrust people.
But they're not even magical beings.
That was rude and I'm so sorry. She has not been on this earth as long as I.
It's funny how you think you can trust all of them.
Trust all and trust none, dear child. Okay, so today's story is long ago when our family went from Germany to Ireland. Okay? Okay. So where was I? Yes, a young maiden. Her name was Evangeline. Evangeline was quite beautiful. More beautiful than any girl in her village. And as she went on her way, every day she woke up and she ended up by the seaside, breathing in the air, enjoying life.
Knowing you, I would have thought you would push her in.
The thought had crossed my mind.
It crossed mine too.
Yes. Well, I did not push her in. I watched, as I do. And she craved every day to just be a sailor. But back then, you see, dear one, women had their place, and in the sea it was not. So all the men who chased her, she just was not interested. And her father, he was a shipman, and he was not a very good fisherman, so they were very poor. And that was sad. She had 9 brothers and sisters and one on the way. To make ends meet, she would work at the local marché, as I call it. You would call it a market. But at this marché, she would sell baked goods. And it would help her family make ends meet. I mean, they were not happy, but at least their bellies were full, most days. And she always felt this calling to be free, but she knew her responsibility as the oldest child. And she had to feed the family. Do you see?
Oldest?
Yes. She was the oldest.
If her family was poor, why did they keep having children?
That is a discussion for a totally different day. I can't believe you would ask such. Where was I? Ah, yes. So late at night, she would lay in bed, and since she was a little girl, she would have dreams of her name being called from the sea. Evangeline, Evangeline, in order to be free, come to the sea.
Are you sure that wasn't some sirens?
I will get to that. The point is, is this particular night was her 16th birthday. And she could hear the call, Evangeline, Evangeline, come to the sea. Well, this night she followed, and on her way, the moonlight glimmered on her, and she felt different. Do you remember when you figured out you were a fairy?
She was a fairy. Fairies cannot fly if their wings are wet. So why was she...
She wasn't a fairy. I'm telling you, the moment you figured out that you're a fairy, that's how she felt. Keep up, child. You know nothing. This is why your father sent you to me. Where was I?
But you're not even trustworthy.
I'm very trustworthy.
You're not very trustworthy. Last time I checked, you turned, what, one of the Elven Council into a toad. And then he somehow became a prince when a princess kissed him.
Yes, I should have made that stronger. That is not the point. The point being, child, you will respect my stories. These are true.
I have high doubt that they are.
They are very true. If you don't believe me, ask the Elven Council. I got in trouble.
Of course you did.
Whatever the case, she found her way down to the water, and Evangeline decided to dip her foot in just a little. But when she did, you cannot imagine her surprise and shock when she grew a fin. You see, she was a mermaid, and she never knew. She never knew that her father, the fisherman, had found her 16 years earlier caught in a net. But the sea called her name. And all of these beautiful mermaids came out of nowhere to welcome her home. But you see, part of her heart was still on land with her brothers and sisters. She couldn't fully adapt to ocean life. She could barely understand why she had a tail, although she did fit better with the ocean. So she had a choice to make. A big one.
Has she never had a bath before?
She changed on her 16th birthday, child. Would you listen? I swear. Whew. Be kind and gracious, she is a young elf one.
Of course you would say that.
You are young, I shall overlook it.
Didn't you turn a baby into a bug? It barfed on you?
I am about to turn you into something if you don't stop.
Of course, and then my brother has a reason to put you in elven jail.
There's no such thing as elven jail.
Then where do we put all our gremlins?
They are turned into gremlins because they're in trouble.
Well, I guess that's what you're about to be turned into.
I guess that's about to be what you're turned into if you don't listen to my story.
Last time I checked, you had no more magic.
Temporarily. It shall return when they foresee that I have overcome some problems.
Are you sure? Because last time I checked, your punishment will last 1,000 years.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, details. Where was I? Yes, she was a mermaid. So she begged of them, I need to go home and say goodbye. My family would never forgive me, and I couldn't forgive myself if I went into the ocean and never came home. So that's what she did. The next day, she ran home. She saw her family sleeping. And she kissed each one and left them a morsel of her baked goods. Her father said, it', did it, child? You knew Evangeline was shocked and dismayed he never told her. But he was very, very sweet and said, I knew this day would come, but I've loved you with all that I've had, and I've given you everything I could. Please be gracious to my house.
If she really loved him, why would she leave like that, knowing of what situation they are in?
Ah, but you see, she didn't have to leave at all. She could come on land during the day, and she could live in the sea by night. And she could have the best of both worlds. No if and choose. It was always just to be. So, she went back to the ocean, and with her newfound powers, she made it so that all the fish would go to her father's boat. He became the greatest fisherman in the little village, and her brothers and sisters never, ever went without, ever again. And she ended up marrying a prince.
You sure you didn't have a hand on this?
I might have.
Prince Eric, was it? Last time
I will not say who it was, but Evangeline was very happy and bore a daughter that they so happened to name Ineka. It was very, very, very much a proud moment for me. I only got in trouble for 300 years that time.
Last time I checked, you were either an elf or a fairy. Wait, as that reminds me, which one do you prefer to be called?
Well, on certain days I feel a little more happy and sparkly. That's when I feel like a fairy. And on other days I feel a little more dark and mischievous. That's the days I feel like an elf. So I call myself a felf. Fairy/elf.
So why would you say your mother was a mermaid? Disgusting, slimy creatures.
Her mother? Or my mother?
Your mother.
My mother was a fairy who fell in love with an elf, and it is very forbidden. But what can you do when it's true love? Just as your dad.
We do not add my father into the discussion. And last time I checked, the Elven Council disagreed with your little storytelling on these, whatchamacallits.
First off, the humans call it YouTube. Second off, what they don't know won't hurt them. And if you tell, then you will be a traitor.
Ain't no more of a traitor than you already are.
Why, oh why did he send you to be with me?
Why, oh why? Why would he send me to you, of all elves or fairies or whatever you called it?
I do not know why Craven does what he does, but there is always a good reason. I am so sorry to air our dirty laundry to you, but I hope you enjoyed the story, because it is near and dear to my heart. And so, my niece shall ask your forgiveness for her rude behavior, and we shall move on with our day. Right, Ithaca?
Alright, Auntie Ineka. Why would they even make our names rhyme, though?
Maybe you're more like me than you like to admit.
Maybe I just like to stay out of trouble, like some people. Wait. Right, I'm already counting you as a person. One of those
Okay then.
magicless plus people. human beings don't even associate with.
Remember, my dear ones, magic comes from within. Stay beautiful, my amazing creatures. You are always magical in my eyes.
Magicless in mine.